Welcome back to the Junkyard Dogcast as Georgia throttles Florida State 63-3 to finish 13-1 on the season. If it was ever in doubt, it was probably early in the first quarter as Georgia scored on 10 straight possessions. It was a pretty eventful day for every Georgia player except for poor old Brett Thorson, who did not get to see the field until 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, as almost everyone on the Georgia roster had already played at least a snap. It was a dominating performance from start to finish as Georgia rewrote its own record for largest margin of victory in a bowl game, 60 points. I mean, that's as strong as you can really get for a team that some people question just how motivated this Dogs team would be when they missed the playoffs and now made as about as strong as a case for being snubbed as you possibly can, as Kirby Smart has established the type of culture in Athens that few programs can really, say that they are at that level. Whenever you can motivate a team disappointed at how the season ended to come out and have the most dominating bowl performance ever, it really says a lot again about that culture that Kirby Smart has established in Athens. And you really have to tip your cap to every single position group in this performance. I mean, Carson Beck comes out after saying he was going to return for the 2024 season, and it completes 13 of 18 passes for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. He gets to watch the second half, from the sidelines. Kendall Milton, in his last game at Georgia, rushes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, finishes off what still, in the end, ends up being one of the 20 best running back careers in program history. 24 touchdowns when all is said and done. Top 10 among Georgia running backs in yards per carry. And then, Dajon Edwards also has 2 touchdowns, also finishes with 24 touchdowns over his career at Georgia. Both of those backs looked outstanding. Georgia's offensive line, you have Cedric Van Pran out there starting his, I think, 44th consecutive game at Georgia, dishing out pancakes left and right. Ends his career as probably Georgia's most dependable player over the last 4 years. Should be the first center taken in next year's draft. Just an outstanding leader, and it just kind of tells you just about this Georgia team that you had guys like him suiting up. The narrative in this game was all the opt-outs for Florida after obviously a disappointing end of their season, having not lost in the regular season or their conference championship, but you could tell which team still wanted it in this game. And I don't know if Florida State doesn't have those opt-outs. They just lost by 60 points to a Georgia team that had 24 players not playing, 24 scholarship players not suiting up in this game, and they won by, 60 points. So I don't know what difference that would have made. Obviously, you think the margin of victory may have been a little bit lessened if Florida State comes out at full strength, but this was obviously one of the 4 best teams on the field in Georgia, and they showed it. I think you look at this pass catching group. The best player in college football was not on the field for Georgia in this game, in Brock Bowers, but yet you still had Dylan Bell out there making acrobatic catches. Dominic Lovett scoring a touchdown. Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint ending his career with yet another over-the-top Moss, performance where he mossed the DB to come down with the ball. The next group of tight ends at Georgia, Pierce Sperlin and Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky, combining for 36 yards and a touchdown as well. Ladd McConkey having an outstanding 27-yard run where he just made 4 or 5 Florida State defenders look silly. It was, as complete a performance obviously as you've ever seen. But again, this is a team that neither one of these teams thought they'd be playing in this game heading into December. And you wondered if either team even wanted to be there. And obviously, Kirby Smart told this team, it's all about how you finish. And honestly, I think this was probably Kirby Smart's best coaching job to date. Just the fact that he was able to get this team to come out there and perform the way that they did against a team that still was an undefeated team, and they came out there and showcased that Georgia isn't going away anytime soon. Outstanding performance by Michael Williams as a stand-up rush linebacker. Now that's definitely the role he needs to play next year. That strip fumble that he had was outstanding. He dominated while he was on the field. Malachi Starks with the outstanding interception return. Dalen Everett with his first career interception. He's been solid all year. I know that he got picked on a lot because he played opposite of a first-round pick in Kamari Lassiter. That's kind of the rite of passage for Georgia cornerbacks. When you're playing starting cornerback at Georgia, you're probably going to be targeted a lot when you're opposite one of the best cornerbacks in college football. That's really been the case at Georgia for the last 3 to 4 years as that CB2 for Georgia. And now he goes into the offseason with some momentum, some confidence. And I think from top to bottom, all of Georgia's returning players should have a lot of confidence just because they won in every phase of the game. I think, you had a turnover on downs in its first possession, and that was it. Since then, they scored a touchdown, like I said, 10 straight drives. I think Florida State only getting that field goal early in the second quarter just kind of shows which team came out to play and which team kind of sat down and quit early on. And I think Kendall Milton's touchdown run, that first one, kind of displayed how this game was going to go, because a lot of those defenders were making business decisions and getting out of the way for him as he rumbled into the end zone. In the end, Georgia had 673 yards, which, again, one of many records that they just broke in this Orange Bowl game. They had the largest lead at halftime ever in an Orange Bowl game. From top to bottom, you just look at the numbers and the fact that Florida State only managed 209 yards in this game. They had 4 turnovers. They lost. When you lose the turnover battle 4-0, it's going to be a long day, and it really was for the Seminoles in this game. You tip your cap to the regular season, but you have to understand that Mike Norvell hasn't established the same type of culture in Tallahassee that Kirby Smart has in Athens, that Nick Saban has in Tuscaloosa. I think you just look at the fact that Georgia had all these starters that are going to be high draft picks in this, still playing in a game that did not have college football playoff repercussions. I think it's a credit to what Kirby Smart has built. And again, it's not just the guys heading out to the draft that dominated in this game. I mean, you saw Roderick Robinson average 10 yards a carry out there. You saw Gunnar Stockton show what he can do with his legs, rushing for 46 yards against, the same players that Georgia's starters were up against when the game started. He had 2 touchdown passes in that game, a couple throws he'd like to have back, but also he had a couple very, very skilled throws that he had to make, and he did. And so, again, you look towards the future of this program. You look at the fact that you're returning Dylan Bell. You got Dominic Lovett out there. You have these tight ends. Anthony Evans obviously showcased his speed as well with that 14-yard touchdown catch, his ability in the return game. You had Mekhi Muse, head into the transfer portal. But then you had Anthony Evans out there showing what he did in the SEC championship against Alabama with those 2 punt returns for 21 yards as well. I think from top to bottom, you have to be still excited if you're a Georgia fan. This season did not go the way you wanted it to, but you also have to look at this program, the fact that this senior class is going out with 50 wins, the winningest senior class ever at Georgia, 50-5. That's an incredible run. And I think it's a number that you look at and you go, that's tough to break. But you look at the next group. I think this group is talented to make another run from top to bottom. You look at C.J. Allen stepping in at inside linebacker and proceeding to look like a young if not Roquan Swift, Nakobe Dean out there leading the team in tackles, having 1.5 tackles for loss, outstanding in coverage with a 4th down pass breakup. I was really impressed by what I saw from him. Again, I just think this dominating performance is just a reflection of Kirby Smart and what he has got his players to play for him, regardless of the impact of this game. I think that these guys are going to give their all for him. Every single player on that roster, whether it's Jackson Muschamp coming out and probably making his dad punch through several whiteboards after the game, after he comes out there and is able to, have a big 14-yard run. And, that all of his teammates on the sideline were just as excited for him, as Will Muschamp was for his son, to see his son out there making plays against Florida State in a bowl game. I think you look back, Georgia's only bowl loss under Kirby Smart was to Texas in the Sugar Bowl to finish that 2018 season. This team takes their bowl game seriously under Kirby Smart. He had players in the portal stick around with the team. And I think that shows all you need to know about where this program is. Georgia's 3-0 in their non-playoff bowl game since that loss to Texas. I think it shows that not just the culture that Kirby Smart's built, but you have to look at the leadership on this team, the players. Cedric Van Pran, Kendall Milton, these guys cared. They knew when they put that uniform on one more time, there's a lot of value in that, and they know what that means, not just to the program, but just to their fans. And I think as fans, you have to step back and appreciate what you've had on this roster this season, the last 4 seasons, and what you have for the future, because the young players just saw the guys I mentioned, the seniors who went out there in a non-playoff game and gave it their all, until they were up by multiple touchdowns to a team that came into this game undefeated. If that doesn't show you that every single player on this team cares and cares about how they perform every time they put on that jersey, and there's no more proof you could have than what you saw in this win. I think you have to look and know that not only did Florida State not belong, this proves that Georgia was one of the 4 best teams, and they obviously did belong in the college football playoff. And I don't think you're going to have to worry about something like this happening again. You're going to go 12 teams next year. I think you're going to see Georgia playing in the playoffs for the foreseeable future. And honestly, as long as Kirby Smart's the head coach at Georgia, I think Georgia's going to be in the college football playoff and, going to have the chance to play for multiple titles. So this one blip is just that. It's a blip. This program is not going anywhere. And we're going to have a lot to talk about all offseason with all of the players that, has transferred out. Georgia's gotten some big-time playmakers from the transfer portal this offseason. Number 1 recruiting class coming in, and a bright, bright future ahead, even if this season did not end with a national championship. For this edition of the Junkyard Dogcast, I'm Kip Adams. Happy New Year, dog fans.